Hello friends, this is Sam. Today what we are going to talk about, we will see how to implement SOAP based web service in Salesforce. SOAP, what is that? So I hope you know the long form of SOAP. It is nothing but simple object access protocol. So in SOAP based web service, everything is XML. So the package of the message is also XML. The body of the message itself is also XML. Everything is XML in SOAP based web service. So let's get into that. How to implement such kind of SOAP web service in Salesforce. Look at the diagram. So this is what is the SOAP based web service we suppose implemented in Salesforce, and we have to invoke that using some client. So we know that Salesforce web service, SOAP based web service need to be invoked by SOAP client always. So we will be using the SOAP UI client. You can easily get it from internet. So you can see that on my machine it is already installed. SOAP UI. If you search on Google, download SOAP UI client, you will easily get that. So I have already installed it on my machine and I will use it to invoke my SOAP based web service in Salesforce. So this diagram shows you different set of steps which we are going to perform while developing this SOAP based web service in Salesforce. So we know that in SOAP based web service there is WSDL file involved, which is XML file, web service description language. So that kind of WSDL file is involved. Rather, whenever we deal with SOAP based web service in Salesforce, there are two WSDL files involved. One is enterprise WSDL, which is at the Salesforce level, and there is another WSDL which is at the application level. So this another WSDL is for your web service specifically. So very firstly, you need to generate the enterprise WSDL which will be used by client to connect to the Salesforce. Then we will send login credentials to Salesforce so that Salesforce can send session ID to your client. That session ID is like authorization token which can be used by client to send request to Salesforce web service. Then we use that service ID and we send the input along with that service ID to Salesforce web service, and finally Salesforce web service will give the output. So this is broad level diagram. Let us get into details of implementation of Salesforce web service. So firstly, let us generate the enterprise WSDL from Salesforce. So how to generate that? So I have already logged into my Salesforce account, and let me generate the enterprise WSDL and let me save it on my machine. So go to setup and go to developer menu, this, and go to API. So here you can see that generate enterprise WSDL. So let me generate that. Okay. And let me generate the enterprise WSDL now. That's cool. So it's getting generated. Take some time to display it in the browser. Perfect. So this is what the enterprise WSDL got generated. This is used by client to connect to Salesforce basically. So we don't have to really get into the details of this WSDL, what data it contains and so on. Simply save that and save it on your machine. So let's say this is enterprise WSDL. So enterprise WSDL, that's what is getting stored. So enterprise.WSDL. Let me save it like this. Otherwise it will take XML as the extension. I want to take it as WSDL. So let me put it in double quotation and it will take all files. So enterprise WSDL will be stored. Save. So enterprise.WSDL got stored. Now let us get into, now let me show you different steps which we have to follow while developing this SOAP web service in Salesforce. So we have already implemented this step. We generated enterprise WSDL. Now this WSDL we have to add in SOAP UI client. So let's open SOAP UI client. So in my case it's already open. So let me show you from scratch. So let me close this SOAP UI which is already there. Let me close that. Okay, now let me start it from scratch. SOAP UI, let us start it. It's starting. Okay, then let us create the new SOAP project in SOAP UI. So click on file, say new SOAP project. You can see new SOAP project here. Let's click on that and let's give some name to my project. So let me call it as PRJ 2, any name you can give. Here in that initial WSDL you need to browse that enterprise WSDL. You remember we just created the WSDL and we saved it on our machine. So let us browse that enterprise WSDL. So it's stored in the documents folder. So enterprise WSDL, yeah, it is here. Let us browse it and click on OK. Okay, so your enterprise WSDL is already selected and your project details also got configured based on that enterprise WSDL. Here if you go, you can see the login section over here. So if you look at these all methods and there is a login method over here. So open that and you can see request 1. It's a SOAP request. Let's get into that. Okay, so what you need to send is you need to send the username and password of your Salesforce. Okay, so first thing, now that's what, let's check out the steps. You need to send login details to Salesforce and get the session ID. So that step we are performing now. So let me see my username here, my Salesforce username. I need to put it here. That is, let me take it from my mailbox. Okay, so I just copied it from my mailbox, whatever welcome mail I get from Salesforce whenever I create my account. So from that I copied the username. So let me just take that username. So this is what my username is and I just use my password. So let me go here, let me put the username and let me put my password. So some dummy password I just set. So that's what I set. And let me delete unnecessary part from this XML. So whatever is there in this header, some portal ID and something is there, I don't require it really. So this unnecessary stuff I just delete from this. I delete and then I send this request to Salesforce. So you can see that Salesforce receives that request and Salesforce send you the session ID. So this session ID you have to use to send subsequent request. So if you look at our diagram, so we just got session ID from Salesforce now, and that will be used by client to send another request to web service. Okay, so let us save that session ID and keep it in some notepad. So let me save that. This is the session ID. So that's a big alphanumeric number. So let us copy that and let us save it somewhere. So let me just save it here. Okay, so that's fine. Now let's go to our steps, that what is next. Now we need to create the web service class. We need to write the Apex class where we will write our business logic for my web service. So what is the business logic? we will accept mobile number from user and we will give account for that mobile number as a response to the client. If that mobile number doesn't it's not present in the account object, then we will say mobile number invalid, that kind of message. So that kind of web service we are planning to build basically. Okay, so let's get into that. Now here I tried to jot down different elements in that web service class. So first thing what I need to do is that I need to write my Apex class. So let me just get into writing the Apex class. So let me go to developer console. Let me go to here, setup. Then let me go to develop. Let me create Apex classes and developer console. So I just open developer console and there I just say class and let me create the new class. Let me close the old one. So let me create new Apex class and let me call that class as maybe mobile number enquiry. So that class is mobile number enquiry. That is the name of the class. Let me save that. Now first thing what you need to do is that, so by default the class is taken as public. So this class will be web service class. So remember to use global as the specifier for this class. Always use global as the specifier for the class whenever we make that class as the web service class. So that's what we are trying to do here, that we need to remember that you need to make the class as global. Then what you will doing is you will be creating two inner classes. One inner class will represent web service request and another inner class will be representing web service response. So let us create that request and response inner classes in my code. So let me get into here and let me create that. So let me create the class. Let's say, let me call it as mobile number request. So this is what mobile number inquiry request, MNE request. Let me call it as MNE request. That is what the name of the request. Then I do have the class. This is the inner class which represents request. And I do have another class which will represent response. So MNE, mobile number inquiry response. This is another class I do have. So let me just align them properly. Okay. Now remember these both inner classes that should be also global because we will be using them for web service request and web service response. So let us make them as global. So let us make this as global. Let us make this as also global. Okay. So that's fine. Let me save this code. Perfect. So far no error. Now we need to define what is the element in request and what is the element in response. So we will be taking mobile number from the user. Maybe in the string form we will be taking mobile number from the user. So let us declare that mobile number over here. So we will declare it and it will return account name. So let me take string account name. That will be the return value from the response. Now remember the next thing about your web service class is there is a web service specifier. So whatever web service keyword is there that you need to define for each parameter. So whatever parameters, so input and output for both of them you need to specify web service specifier. So let me just go there And what I mean is, here you need to mention that it is web service input. This is web service input and this is web service output. So that you need to define over there. So this is the syntax of SOAP based web service. So this is input to the web service, this is output from web service. Both of them need to have web service specifier. Remember that. Then we need to write a method which will actually contain the business logic, which is searching your mobile number. So let me come to the broad level steps. So I need to write the function, I need to implement the function which will implement my service basically, which will take request object as the parameter and it will return the response object from that. So that will be the format of this function which is implementing the business logic. So let us write that method. So that method has to be static always. Remember that. Okay, because we are not going to create any object of this particular class. This method will be invoked using class only. So that's why we have to make it as static. Let us call this method as mobile number search. Okay, you can give any method name. So I just call it as mobile number search. So that's the method. And as we said, it takes parameter request object as the parameter. So let us take a request object as the parameter. So what is the request object? MNE request. This is the parameter. Let me copy paste that to avoid typo error. That is request. And the return value, return data type will be response. So that will be MNE response. So let me just copy paste this and let me put it here. So that's what will be the function. Now again, the same thing what we applied about this web service specifier. So this is input to the web service. So we just added web service specifier over there. This is output from the web service. So we just added web service specifier over there. Same way, this is business logic of the web service. So we need to add web service specifier for this function as well. Let us add that. Let us save this. Okay. And then what we need to do is that let us write our business logic. So firstly what I do, I create the response object because I need to return the response. So let me just create the response object. So MNE response, let me call it as response equal to new MNE response. So I just created the object of response class. That's what I'm doing there. It is just a empty object, nothing else is there. Just without any parameter, I just call the constructor and I just created that particular object. Now what I need to do is that I need to fetch the, so where is the input mobile number? Actually that input mobile number is inside this. Okay, so I need to write the query basically. I need to write the query. And firstly, I will check that whether there is any record present with this mobile number or not. Okay, so let me take maybe some value. If I go to the account object, you can see that. So if I send from client, if I send this, then it should return Acme as the account name. That's what. So you will send mobile number and it will return the account name. We can implement that in reverse as well. We will send the account name and we will get mobile number as the response. So in this case, we are sending mobile number as the input and we will get account name as the output. So let me write the query first. Let us write the query first. SOQL statement we will write. Select and I will put name and from account where there is the field called as phone number. So if you look at this field is phone. Okay, it is like a string field only. So where phone equal to in bracket we will not be giving any constant string, so we will be comparing that with colon. So it will be like this, equal to request dot whatever this mobile number is there, we will be comparing that with this semicolon, not semicolon here, so semicolon at the outside. So this SQL statement will fetch the name from the account. Okay, now let us do one thing. If it will not return any row, then it will give you an exception basically. So to avoid to fetch null record, let us do one thing. Let me put like count this function. Let me put like this function. It will return the number of records with this particular criteria. So we will get whether the record is there or not. So let me put count equal to and select count from account where phone number equal to this one. Now if it is 0, if it is not 0, what we will return? If it is greater than 0. So naturally if we got one record, because assuming that there is one record with that mobile number only, so we got one record, so count is greater than 1. In that case, what we have to do is that I will fetch the record again. So I will say okay, let me do like this, ACC equal to, I will write the query again, select name from account and the same condition where phone equal to this one, the same condition, and it will return you ACC object, and that ACC dot name is nothing but, so what you need to do, response dot account name, response dot account name equal to ACC dot name. So what you will get is that res will get that final thing, and else we will have res dot account name. We will just put the error message, mobile number is invalid. So that's what it will get, semicolon. Okay, so what we are doing, we are just fetching the count. If it is 0, then it will simply give you the message, that means there is no account available with that phone number. If the account available, it will be storing and it will be returning the name of the account basically. And what we will do is we will return that response. So let me just return the response. Let me close the statement, and if web service static, so my web service function, that mobile number search function where it is closing, it is closing here. Okay, fine, return res, and I think that should be sufficient. Let me save it, whether all is fine or there is any compilation error. Let me check that. Okay, so you can see that on line number 15 there is error, so it has to be integer. Remember, int is not the valid data type in Apex, so it is integer. So let me save it, and the another one is comparison argument must be compatible type, so that's what. So let me save that. So I hope that will be gone. Okay, that got saved. Very good. Okay, so our web service class is completely written. So let us check whether we followed everything. Global specifier, we know that as our written class is a web service, so we make it as global. Then your request and response inner classes you create, those are also global. Then inside that you will put input and output of the web service. You make them, you just put web service specifier. You add the function, and for that function also you put web service specifier. So your web service class is created. So that's what different steps we are following from this board. So your web service class is created now. Okay, now let us generate the WSDL for the class. We know that if you look at this particular diagram, next thing I need to generate WSDL for my application. For my web service, I need to generate WSDL, which will be used by client to contact me. So let us generate WSDL for your web service class. So let us do that. Let us go to that class basically. Let me go there, setup, then go develop Apex classes, and you will see, you will go to mobile number inquiry and you will generate WSDL. So there is a generate WSDL button. So this WSDL is getting generated. So these WSDL contain all the service details and the endpoint URL as well. So you can see that this is the host name and endpoint URL, and other service detail are also there in this WSDL. So let us save that. So save it as mobile search dot WSDL, and let us save that all files, and yes, mobile search dot WSDL. So it has been created. Fine. Then let us configure that WSDL at the client side. So what we need to do now, we need to add that WSDL to my client project. So go to this project, right click on that, just add the WSDL. Let us add the WSDL location, and you can see it is in documents, and WSDL is mobile number, mobile search WSDL. Let us select that. Let's click on OK. Okay, once you add that, you can see as per that WSDL is concerned, you will see mobile number search method and the request will be here. So just open that request now. So whenever you open that request, let us check out what is the next step we have done. We have done that add WSDL in the SOAP client project, and let us configure my request with the session ID and other inputs. So whatever session ID you previously received, let us configure that here. First thing, above this session header, whatever is there, that is useless part. So let me just select up to this point. Okay, up to this point, everything whatever I select. So let me just delete that. So delete it. And service ID. So let us copy that service ID which we copied earlier. This is the complete service ID. Let us put it in the service ID. So this is the service ID. Let's put it. So this service ID got added. Then the mobile number. So let us take some valid mobile number from accounts. Okay, so accounts, and go, and you can see this is the valid mobile number. Let's take that, copy, and let us put it here. Yes, and let's see whether it works. So run that. Yes, you got Acme account number. Now let me put some invalid mobile number over here. Let me add some invalid mobile number and let me send me that, and it says mobile number is invalid. So your SOAP based web service is absolutely working fine. Let me summarize what we have done. So we followed this diagram. Actually, we have generated enterprise WSDL, then we logged in with the login credentials, we have generated session ID, we generated web service WSDL. Using session ID and web service WSDL, we contacted the web service and we got the output. So we followed all these steps basically. All these steps we followed, and we built the SOAP based web service, which is finally invoked by the SOAP UI client. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed creating SOAP web service in Salesforce. Thanks for watching this session, friends. See you in the next session. Thank you.